Well, hello to everybody, especially the early birds. We will get started soon. We'll just wait for a few more people to join, and then we'll get started in about 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, so if we can move on to the next slide. So, welcome, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And this is our webinar, Meet Gitar, the AI code review joins Sonar's multi-layered verification platform webinar. So if you've already joined one of our webinars in the past, hello again, welcome back. And today we're getting a first look at Gitar, the AI native code review solution that recently joined the Sonar family. And we're going to talk about what it means for teams dealing with the very real challenge of maintaining code quality in an AI accelerated world. I'm Andrew, and I'll be your moderator today. And I'm excited to have Manish and Gautam with us as presenters today. But before we begin, let's just quickly go over some quick housekeeping points. So if you can move to the next slide, that'd be great. So the session will last around 45 minutes, and we will have, we'll try and have a session for Q&A at the end, but you are invited to submit your questions at any time during the webinar via the Q&A tab, I should say, in the panel. And we've got a couple of panelists behind the scenes who will be tasked with answering as many questions as they can live. We have John and Robert. So do feel free to submit your questions at any time. Don't necessarily wait for the end. Plus, you can upvote any questions which you think you particularly like to see answered. We'll record the session and we will send out a link via email in the coming days. And if you want us to contact you after the session, you can use the poll tab and just put in a request there, and we'll be happy to follow up with you afterwards. Finally, there is a brief 4-question survey that you can answer at any time, and your input, as always, will help us improve. So thanks in advance for your feedback. Now, let me introduce today's speakers. So joining us today, we have Manish Kapoor, who is VP of Product and Solutions at Sonar, where he leads our product strategy behind Sonar's multi-layered verification platform, including the integration of Gitar into the SonarQube ecosystem. Hello, Manish. And then we have Gautam Kolam, who is the co-founder and CTO of Gitar, now part of Sonar. Before founding Gitar, he was the principal engineer on Uber's developer platform team, where he tackled productivity and scalability challenges at enterprise scale. He's a recognized voice on monorepos, CI/CD, and agentic AI. And he built Gitar on the conviction that AI tools should genuinely understand code context and not just generate it. So welcome to both of you. Thank you very much. And I will hand over to you, Manish.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Welcome all. So here's the agenda for the day. As Andrew said, my name is Manish, and I'll get us started. We have about 35-40 minutes today, plus some time for Q&A at the end. I'll cover 2 sections, the first 2 ones. We look at what the problem is today in the market in terms of AI coding, why AI coding is creating a verification problem, and then how Sonar thinks about solving this problem. And then I'll hand it over to Gautam, who will walk you through Gitar, specifically take you through what it does and how it works, and through a live demo. And then we'll close it off with the Sonar Cube and Gitar working together session. And we'll have Q&A, of course, at the end. But you can continue to post your questions as we go along. There's in the Q&A box while Gautam and I present this webinar. Next slide. So let's start with the problem first. As I don't want to assume anything that everyone is experiencing the same problem, but AI coding is fast. It's helping us produce code at a faster pace than ever before. There is velocity, but there's challenges too. So let's talk about them. Next slide. So on the left, you see a quote from Andre Karapathy. Andre Karapathy co-founded OpenAI, and then he also built Tesla's Autopilot. He's currently working at Anthropic. When he says that the era of coding is over, he's describing what's already happening. Sometime in December of 2025, the model suddenly improved tremendously. And ever since December 2025, coding has completely changed. It's kind of a solved problem. Most of the dev teams are already using AI coding agents like Claude Code, Cursor, or GitHub Copilot, or any other agent that you may be using. The models have become so good that they produce functional code most of the time. But they have side effects. The volume of code being generated is super fast, super high, right? It's outpacing the ability of all of us to review that code. On the right side, you see three stats. These three stats come from a Carnegie Mellon study of Cursor. So they looked at Cursor projects, about 807 production code bases that were built using Cursor, and those were analyzed using Sonar Cube. And they found that about 10x more code was being developed per developer. It might be even higher now with the agents. And they also noticed when they analyzed that code with Sonar Cube that it resulted in a 30% increase in static analysis warnings, as well as a 41% increase in complexity of the code that the Cursor was producing. So with those things in mind, the traditional code review process was never meant to handle this kind of a volume and this kind of a failure pattern. Next slide. So the question that we have in front of us is, can you trust what AI writes? Can you trust the code that it produces? And based on independent research, not just ours, the answer is not without verification. There are four categories of issues that we consistently see with AI-generated code across different third-party and independent reports. We see AI produces reliability issues with the code that is being generated by them. The agents hallucinate, they invent library functions that don't even exist. Developers have already seen this. You have already heard about the supply chain attacks that happened over the last 3 months. They have been increasing. Then you also see, we also have a leaderboard at sonar.com/LLM leaderboard, or /leaderboard actually, sonar.com/leaderboard, where we are evaluating all the models as they come out and looking at how reliable they are, how verbose they are, how secure they are, and how maintainable they are. We looked at the verbosity of all the latest models. And apparently, most of the newer models are taking more lines of code to solve a particular task than the previous generation of models. What that means is there is more volume of code. What that means is it's even harder to review that code. And what that means is bugs are hidden deeply inside that large volume of code. Security is another issue which we are seeing. Models don't know your security context. They don't know about your secret handling approach. They don't know about some of the things that are tied specifically to your coding requirements. And that's what makes them hard to catch. And then, of course, because the volume of code that is being produced is so much, you always see architectural issues. You already see customers are already seeing tech debt in their code base that has been generated by AI agents. So while they produce functional code, there are some side effects. Next slide. So the bottle is no longer writing code. Like I said, coding is a solved problem. It's more about what happens after that code is written. So on your day-to-day basis, you will see that there are more PRs getting opened. They are bigger in size. You are running into CI failures in new ways that were not seen before. And your engineers are finding it tough to review the code as the volume is so high. We call this challenge a verification debt problem. And as AI generates code faster than your team can verify, so we need to have a system and process to verify that code as fast as AI is producing it. So the symptoms of this problem are shown on the bottom of the slide. PR wait times are increasing, CI failures are multiplying, and your bottlenecks are increasing. Next slide. So how does Sonar think about solving this problem? So how do you fix it? It's not by slowing down AI coding for sure, but it's more about how do you verify it, and you verify it in a reliable way and at the same pace at what it is being developed. Next slide. So at Sonar, we believe that there are two properties that you want to have in your verification system, code verification system. Your code verification system should be zero trust and multi-layered. Zero trust means verification system is completely independent from the agent that generated the code. If you have AI writing the code and AI reviewing the code, basically it's like you're asking the student to write the exam and grade their own exam. So we believe that you should have an independent way of verifying the code that is being produced. It should not be the same NLM or the same agent that is producing the code. Verification should be zero trust, which means you should use a different methodology. You should have a clear segregation of duties. It should be completely auditable, explainable, and deterministic. So those are the traits which make a system zero trust system for verification. And then when you look at multi-layered verification, it means that there are different layers to verify the code that is being produced by AI. No single tool or layer can catch all kinds of issues. And when I say multi-layered, it can start with things like linting at the top level, and then go on to static analysis, then go on to SAST analysis, taint analysis, software composition analysis, architecture analysis. All of those are layers. AI code review is another layer. So these layers, each layer is meant to catch certain types of problems. And by the time you're done reviewing the code, you will have a solid production-ready code with very few false positives and code that you can actually trust. Next slide. So again, going a little bit deeper into it, we will get into this session sometime in the future. But ACDC is a methodology that we are proposing, agent-centric development cycle, and you can look it up at sonar.com/ACDC. And that's where we are implementing this zero trust multi-layered verification approach. So it all starts with setting the guardrails first. Before even the agent writes a single line of code, you make sure it has the right context about your coding standards, about your architecture, and all of that stuff, right? So you set the guardrails using a product that we have, which is called context augmentation. Next, you do analysis of that code using agentic analysis, which is an inner loop service from Sonar, which basically starts reviewing the code in real time as the code is being produced by the agents, whether it's Cursor, Cloud Code, any of the agents, right? And then, so this inner loop happens before even a PR is filed or before the CI cycle comes into play. Next is the outer loop, which is where the DevOps and the traditional CI/CD things happen. So at the CI/CD layer, you want to basically make sure that you have, again, several layers of review: static code analysis, taint analysis, composition analysis, AI code review. And this is where Gitar comes in. Gitar is augmenting our existing verification layers. So we already have a set of existing verification layers, and Gitar will be providing the AI code review part of it. And then next, you have an acceptance criteria, which is set by your quality profiles and quality gates within SonarQube. So you decide what is your gate for passing the code onto production, right? You have a set of policy conditions, 80% code coverage, zero security issues, and all of those things. And then you next run the dynamic testing once the code has been built and deployed. And then there's continuous patrolling of that code, which is where hunter agents come in. This is, again, opportunistic spot checking of code, which is to make sure nothing got left by any of the previous layers. So that's where we have Hunter agents, and we're coming out with Sonar Hunter agent very soon. So that will be the last layer in terms of catching the issues. Today, we will focus on the remainder of the session on AI code review using Gitar. So Sonar acquired Gitar last month, I think on May 21st, if I'm not mistaken. And we are super thrilled to welcome the Gitar team to Sonar. And with that, I would like to welcome Gautam, who co-founded Gitar, to walk us through how it works and show us a demo of the product. Over to you, Gautam.
Thanks, Manish. Hey, all. Thanks for being here. I'm super excited to join Sonar. As Manish pointed out, there's a large problem in brewing with like AI code. Everyone's generating a ton of code, and we're seeing like slowdowns down in the later parts of the life cycle. So be it SDLC, ACDC, and teams are figuring out how to adapt. So just a little bit of background on Gitar before we dive in. From my background at Uber, we saw this problem a long time ago. We were processing thousands of PRs coming in every day, and we understood like what it takes to make everyone unblocked and ship really quickly. So we were able to apply a lot of that experience and practices to Gitar to really focus on how do we get code from PR to merge, because past review, there's so many other things you had to do in terms of approvals, checks, and as code generation has only accelerated, the problems actually got worse. So let's talk about Gitar, and I'm going to talk through what Gitar does today and how teams use Gitar, different levels of autonomy, and finally go off to the demo. So if you're using AI tools today, you potentially already have coding agents. Some of you might also have agents that run on your PRs to do things like reviews. What we have noticed could be in-house or something else in the market. A lot of these tools will stop at giving you a comment and saying, hey, here's a problem we found, and you should probably go fix it. And sometimes they might post a suggestion. At Gitar, we took a much more fundamental approach and looked much more beyond that. We wanted to make sure that Gitar takes a PR completely too much. And we'll talk about what that means. So Gitar is an AI agent that can install very quickly on GitHub and GitLab. We are working on other platforms as well, like Bitbucket, Azure DevOps as we speak. But today, you can install very quickly on GitHub Cloud or GitHub Cloud. As you open pull requests, it will do a code review like any human being would, and give you suggestions on bugs, edge cases, performance issues, and general like security and other sorts of issues. And you're able to then fix those as well. One of the unique things about Gitar is also analyzes CI failures, because we see with the amount of code being generated, more checks need to be put in place, as Manish mentioned. And when there's a failure, currently the burden is on the developer to figure out what the root cause is and fix. So Gitar takes care of that aspect as well. It will look at all the CI failures, dedupe them, and give you like a nice, concise summary of what actually went wrong. And beyond that, it can also fix issues. And also, as teams build trust, is able to approve PRs and enable the auto merge as well as trust builds. And we'll kind of walk through how that journey looks like. And every fix is obviously revalidated by your CI. And one of the interesting things we learned at Gitar is if you just put up a PR, it could be human or agent generated. If CI is not green, it can merge anyway. And as you fix things, you have to make sure CI is always green. So Gitar actually keeps track of every fix it's pushing and make sure that it's revalidated and your CI is green. And it can keep iterating automatically until the build is green. So you can almost sort of hand it off to Gitar once it's in the PR state. But you're always in control of how much you can do autonomously. Okay. And let's look at how teams use Gitar. So this is the typical journey on how teams intend to use the Gitar agent. Once you install it, by default, on every PR you open, you will get a review from Gitar. And you can interact with Gitar in a natural language. You can ask it questions. You can ask it to dismiss a finding if it is maybe intentional or something you want to tackle later, or you can ask it to fix things as well. And once teams get an understanding of hey, the quality of the reviews are good. It's very high signal and low noise, which is what we really strive for. We are continuously tuning, evaluating, and benchmarking the agents to make sure we're catching a wide range of issues and complementing SonarQube, reducing noise and not focusing on smaller, less important ones. We believe that is important to have good experience on the UX. Once teams understand there's a high signal to noise ratio, they're able to then enable blocking, which basically lets Gitar block a PR until the issues of different severities are actually addressed. So this can act as, again, a third quality cave that is enforceable as we build trust. And we also see fix, which is once people understand that the suggestions themselves are actually very relevant, you are able to, on the suggestion, click a little checkbox and apply the fix immediately. Or you can ask Gitar in natural language. As CI failures happen or issues pop up, you can ask Gitar to fix those issues. And these might not even be issues that Gitar points out. These could be issues from other tools like Sonar or some other third-party tool, or even a colleague's comment. You can ask Gitar, hey, please take care of this. And Gitar is able to act on your behalf and like push fixes and add you as a co-author. Once the fixes are good, what we are seeing is teams are over time asking for more controls on how they can like fully automate autonomously the merge process. So Gitar actually lets you on a per repo basis configure custom criteria in natural language. So you can say, hey, Gitar, if the PR is only touching like a skill file or it is a test only change early on, please go ahead and approve it because it's low risk. And if it is a high risk PR, please do tag someone. And you can define this in natural language, and Gitar will approve the PRs against your criteria. And if you enable auto merge, if everything is green, CI is good, and all the quality gates are like satisfied, you can also enable the auto merge on GitHub and GitLab. And that way, the whole process becomes autonomous from end to end. But typically, a lot of teams just go through each phase of this journey as they build trust. So kind of issues Gitar finds and fixes. So some might be wondering, we have SonarQube. What does Gitar do? How does it like work in tandem or on top? So the main difference with Gitar is it focuses on the intent and the context of your code base. So there's a lot of things that are not just like code related, but they're also related to the intent of what the PR is trying to do. You might have the code looks correct, but maybe it's not solving the right problem, and it may not be following the right architectural patterns. These are things that are much harder to do with static analysis. Not saying they can be done at all, but in some cases, maybe not. But it's also just really difficult to do and to customize. This is where I think Gitar can complement the SonarQube's deterministic analysis, which has a ton of coverage. Gitar is more focused on things that static analysis is not able to catch. So for example, test failures, flaky tests, infrastructure noise, Gitar is able to categorize and tell you if a failure is flaky or related to your PR, which is a huge amount of time lifted from developers trying to understand why CI is actually failing, should they act on it or not. Code review issues themselves like bugs, edge cases, security gaps, logic issues, and inconsistency with your design standards, which you can fully customize on a repo basis. There's a lot of automation you can do as well. So for example, GitHub ships with a bunch of other capabilities to make your PR experience much faster. So it automatically adds PR summaries. You can also link issues from Jira or Linear. You can define custom policies on what special things to look for that are very unique to how your business operates. And it's very useful for getting coverage across different time zones if your teams are remote. Okay, so here's a few capabilities worth knowing. Of course, this doesn't cover everything. I tried to fit as much as I could for an intro session. So auto approve and merge is configurable. It lets teams actually define criteria where Gitar can approve and potentially merge PRs. Gitar has commands that you can run. So you can ask it at any point in time on any comment to fix something, ask it a question, or follow up on things. And if you enable auto apply mode, and we'll see this in the demo, Gitar will continuously monitor the PR. And as you push new updates, if issues come up, it will just fix them for you and add a follow-up commit. As CI fails, it'll iterate and make it green. and it'll keep your PR green at all times. And you can decide when you get to merge it. A CI failure classification happens automatically. So we do have support for a bunch of different platforms we'll cover. But as CI failures come in, it's continuously monitoring and understanding what the root cause is, if it's flaky, or is it noise. And it gives you a fix when it can, when it is actually like a real failure coming from the code. You can also define custom policies in plain English. So this is very important to do custom checks. With static analysis, you need a little bit more effort, but with natural language, it's much quicker to iterate and have like custom policies enforced on your code base. And of course, all this comes with the whole enterprise security guarantees. Gitar itself currently is a separate product. We're working on integrating it into the Sonar product line over time. But for now, if you want to use it, it is like very secure, it has all the certifications. We don't retain any data. We don't train on any data as well. And you're able to also bring your own model. And if you're already using GitHub and GitLab, they're supported today on the cloud and self-hosted. And on terms of CI pipelines, we support GitHub Actions, GitLab pipelines, Circle CI, Build Guide, Bitrise as well, I believe. And we have a few different integrations to do things like send slacks or attach issues from Jira or Linear automatically. And on the enterprise side, you can bring your own LLM API keys, has SSO sample, and audit logs. One of the main, I think, like interesting points if you have been using Sonar so far is that when you install Gitar, you basically immediately start seeing value because there's no configuration to be made. There's no separate changes you need to make to onboard a repo. You can enable or disable repositories on the dashboard, but there is no necessity to like do anything further than install it once, and then you start getting all of these benefits automatically with no additional effort. Now it is time for a demo. I'm going to exit this full screen. I'm going to try to do this live, but let's hope the demo guys are with me. I'm going to open a test PR here. So this is our marketing site, essentially. And I'm going to show you folks what happens when a new PR is open and Gitar kind of kicks into action, does the code review, and we'll kind of walk through some of the different things. As the PR is coming up, here's what you'll see, mostly in the demo. The first thing you'll see is you'll see Gitar create a review for open pull request. It'll also block the PR if there are blocking issues. And then we'll be able to fix and see how Gitar can approve and merge the PR. Okay, let's refresh. Cool. So we have a PR just now. I have just PR quickly created. Gitar has started working. I apologize for my Vercel. It's not really like a blocking thing, but there's a separate app that just kind of is buggy right now. It keeps saying I don't have access. But let's focus on the code change itself. We added a new utility class here, and we have some custom rules defined in the repo about utility classes or magic constants. So I'm going to show you how that looks like. So in the repo itself, you can create this Gitar folder, and you can configure standards essentially, right? So you can say, hey, these standards need to be met. And I also configured criteria on how to approve PRs. So you can actually just drop an MD file and say, hey, automatically approve things based on different criteria, essentially. And this is a demo purpose, so I made it a little bit more tailored. So if you go back to the PR, let's give it some time. So Gitar is currently checking out the code, running the code review analysis. And first thing you'll see is like the code review, before the code review came back, CI comes back because all of these happens independently. So Gitar actually already commented talking about what happened with your CI failure. And if you expand it, it'll say it's a TypeScript compilation issue, and there's a type mismatch. And it's telling you if it's related to the change or not, and gives you a confidence estimate, and also gives you a suggested fix over here. Right, so it's a quick summary, and then also you can also see code review has started coming up as well. So it found a bug, some edge case issues, and some quality issues with standards, no JS doc, some magic numbers, some not validated issues, and some bugs with the type we're returning. At this point, you can expand every issue, and you can also look at the suggested fix, and you can pick things one by one. You can say apply fix, or you can also say here, Gitar fix CI as a comment. Or if you want everything to be fixed, which is what we're going to do, you can say auto apply on. So what this one does is basically it will turn on auto apply mode. So this comment actually tells you what the current options are that are set. So here you can see it's responding to your feedback, and currently auto apply is turned back on. And what we will expect to see in a bit, all these issues will be automatically fixed. A new commit will be pushed. Everything here would be collapsed. So if I refresh this, it does give you feedback on what it's fixing. So you'll see it's applying a fix over here. And once everything is fixed, it'll collapse all the comments to remove the noise here. We took a lot of care in making sure the developer experience is really smooth and noise free. So you'll see once Gitar is done fixing and pushing updates. So we'll keep an eye on it. So here we can see it responded to what I asked it to do, and it acknowledges the command as well. Of course, since there is not too much time to cover all the features, I'm kind of going a little fast, but feel free to add your questions. We'll try to address a lot of any questions that people might have regarding what other commands you might have. There's a few other things you can do with Gitar. You can enable some verbose mode for debugging. You can use it to also unblock things, because here Gitar is actually blocked, and now it's able to unblock. So here you can see the fix, right? And it has auto approved and enabled auto merge. This is the fix it pushed. And here we can see all the code review issues are now resolved. And then if I refresh, GitHub UI can be a little slow to refresh the comments. You'll see one nice stream of comments where it keeps one comment up to date to reduce the noise. Everything is resolved, it is auto approved. It posts a rationale why it auto approved. Right? So it said, hey, the PR contains only this new helper. According to your rules, we can enable auto approve and auto merge. And all of this can be customized on the Gitar dashboard. So the PR is now merged fully autonomously without any more intervention from me. All right, hope you folks enjoyed that demo. So let's talk a little bit about Sonar Cube and Gitar. I think this kind of goes back to the multi-layer verification. How do they really work together? So for the agentic era, I think we have tuned both the systems to be able to provide a strong level of safety and make sure that we can take PRs from review to merge automatically. So Sonar Cube has a lot of very highly detailed deterministic static analysis tools, and Gitar has agentic intent-aware review, and they both look for different classes of issues, and together they cover the full spectrum. The diagram you saw with the cheese is basically making sure that each layer catches issues that the other one might miss. Right. So the multi-layer verification works across lots of different aspects of your syntax, data flow, and control flow issues on Sonar side. And it also integrates into your agentic coding by guiding your coding agents and giving them guardrails so that they are the thing that happens before the code review even works. And the quality and security standards are enforced consistently across all the different languages. And Sonar has a long history in this domain, and they're considered a leader in this aspect. And with Gitar, we are bringing in agentic intent-aware review. So it looks for logic, context, and custom business-specific rules that you might have that static analysis tools are not able to express or are a little bit harder to express. And it also goes beyond finding. So as you saw in the demo, it can fix issues, diagnose CI failures, and it'll keep iterating as your CI turns green. It's also able to approve and merge based on your criteria for an autonomous path from PR to merge. So I think they really complement each other well and kind of tackles the whole problem of what do we do with this deluge of PRs hitting everyone? How do we automate the whole review approval process? We can see our vision for the world eventually would be as PRs are getting created, not just from humans, but agents in the background. We want developers really only focus on the exceptional cases, and agents like Sonar and Gitar are able to like find issues, fix them, make sure CI screen, all your processes are followed, and able to like merge many changes that may not require exceptional review from developers themselves. So that's the vision we're building towards. And with that, I think we have time for Q&A.
Thank you, Gautam.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a lot to unpack there, for sure. Thank you very much. I just wanted to quickly address some comments in the chat. A few people found the screen size a bit small for the demo, so I'm thinking that maybe what we can do is after the webinar we can re-record something and put that out somewhere that's like in a bigger resolution. But great demo. There's a lot to see there.
So we are going to publish the demo of Gitar very shortly. It's already recorded. We are just cleaning it up. It should get published on YouTube in a week or so.
Excellent. Thanks, Manish. Okay, so let me take a look at some of the questions that have been coming in. First one, a general theme really. So these are my words trying to summarize. We're drowning in a lot of AI-generated PRs, and the senior engineers aren't able to keep up with the amount of reviews that they have to do, the review load. So practically speaking, how would Gitar actually take work off their plate? How would Gitar actually make it easier for them?
That's a good question. I think if you think about the whole process in the review, this multi-pronged, right? So as PRs hit the pipeline, developers tend to first look for big issues, like things like, is it following the best practices? Is it in line with the architecture? Beyond that, they're also giving feedback to the author. So both the reviewer and author are involved. And there's a bunch of review that happens where you're iterating and might be getting further rounds of feedback. So Gitar is able to tighten that by removing a lot of the. Can you please mute? Sorry.
Someone's typing, yeah.
Gitar is able to automate a lot of the work over there and tighten that loop, especially with teams being remote as well. Waiting for a review round can be very expensive. So just because you open a PR doesn't mean it ships immediately. So what Gitar is doing is essentially compressing that timeline. And as you build trust, we'd be able to completely take over the whole fix, review, iterate loop. And then once it's in a state where the developers agree that, hey, we can fix all the remaining issues and merge, you can hand it off to Gitar. And Gitar can then take it all the way to like merge by following your best practices. So as more PRs come in, 10 times, 20 times, the only true path to be able to keep up is to like automate away many of the things that we do today, but do it safely with all the controls that we have. And that's where I think we are trying to operate.
Okay, thank you. Another question, I guess a lot of the attendees today on the webinar are possibly already SonarQube users and interested in learning more about Gitar. So the question we can have is, I've already got SonarQube, SonarQube Cloud or SonarQube Server. Does Gitar replace it, or does it work alongside it? Why would I have Gitar and SonarQube?
Absolutely. Going back to the kind of issues, so there's two aspects to this. One is, of course, Gitars finds issues. Sonar also finds issues. They focus on different kinds of problems. Customization, wise, as well as intent of the PR are harder to express in static analysis. So you definitely want to have everything. It's almost like saying, do you want to have house insurance and car insurance? Possibly both, because you want to make sure you protect the things that are important to you. Beyond just the review itself, Gitar is also automating away toil, right? It's not just like giving you issues to like go fix. It's able to fix issues. It's able to keep track of CI. It's able to do things using natural language automatically. You can ask it questions. So it's able to accelerate your time to delivery. So think of it as like a high quality delivered really quickly is kind of what you want to be thinking about. So they're almost like a complementary in the quality sense, and there's also like another orthogonal view of like just velocity from Gitar that you can use to enable your business to move much faster.
That makes sense. Thank you. Another question.
I also want to, just add to that. So Yeah, I just want to add to what Gautam said. So I think that is why there's a question, similar question that came up on the chat, that whether you need, it's probabilistic, Gitar is probabilistic. That's why you need both probabilistic and deterministic approaches. Probabilistic approaches typically are very good at catching logical issues. Deterministic analysis is good at catching rule-based issues and things that probabilistic approaches sometimes are run into false positives there. So if you have both of those together, it's the best multi-layered approach. Along with software composition analysis and architecture analysis, that makes it a super powerful combination in terms of catching as many issues as you possibly can. We will still, software code is code, so we'll still see some issues go through, but the idea is to catch as many as you can before you get into production.
Thanks, Manish. Another question, is there a way to have Gitar take into consideration company standard coding practices for the PR?
Yes, absolutely. So Gitar allows you to customize the entire review experience. So you can link it to your company standards across the entire company. In addition, you can customize it on a per repository basis. It's all defined in natural language. So you can just give it a document in Markdown or plain text. And Gitar is able to enforce different criticalities as well. So you have full flexibility on customizing the review experience and the best practices according to your company standard.
Great. Another question. Does Gitar work only on code diffs or the full repository context?
That's a good question. So Gitar looks at the PR for issues, but it has the full context of the code base at all times when it is making determinations of issues are actually relevant or not. So Gitar will look at the entire repo, and in many cases also start looking for cross repo things if there is like dependencies, because usually everything is not just in one repository, and which is where I think that things like organization-wide best practices also come in. So it looks at a lot of different pieces of context. So the organization rules, your feedback from previous sessions that you have had with Gitar, and also the entire code base context before it makes a recommendation on if the issue is real or not.
Thank you. Next question. Somebody is asking, how does Gitar, I guess, how does this compare to having GitHub Copilot review your PR?
That's a good question. So I think in some ways they were similar. There are of course differences in like the philosophy. Copilot code review has, I think, the same problems as other tools I mentioned. They will give you a comment, and then you have to still fix. We would fix, approve, merge, and in addition, be able to like do custom agents. Since I have not covered everything here, as I mentioned, there's a bunch of stuff that are more advanced. Like you can, for example, define your own custom agents that run on every PR, full context from third-party or custom MCPs, and act on them. For example, is some folks have said, send me a Slack on this channel when someone tries to bypass this kind of a check. There's a Sonar check, actually, one of our customers worked with. And it's very useful for the platform engineering teams to keep track of what's happening. Gitar also has a tons of reports and insights that give you understanding of like the main issues that are being fixed, what's being left on the table, where are your bottlenecks in your CI. So we're thinking of it as a more holistic approach. And let's imagine if you're not using GitHub, you can't really use Copilot in the same way as a platform native way. So we are building Gitar to be the same UX across GitLab, GitHub, and pretty soon Bitbucket and Azure DevOps, and also be able to interact with all your tools that you use. Will either be us providing the support or you bringing your custom integrations. So it's all as a platform. And there's also some considerations in price. This is something that's interesting. Copilot has moved to usage-based billing, which is not aligned with your outcomes. So Gitar is outcome-based. For enterprises, the pricing is per PR, which means regardless of the number of commits you make, or number of agents, or what fixes you make, it's a flat per PR price, which is more in line with you shipping more PRs, and you basically get paid then, which is a much better outcome-based pricing model and more predictable for businesses because they can understand PR throughput more than token costs. So we are not in the business of selling tokens. We haven't mentioned.
Yeah, Yeah, I think excellent points. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm still learning Gitar, Gautam, but I think CI failure classification and validation is something which Copilot doesn't do, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. So that's a big differentiator as well. So we do more than just the PR review, right? Fix, review, and CI validations, CI, failure classification. All of those things are not happening in there. And then the last 2 points were pretty critical. We are vendor neutral, so GitHub Copilot is only GitHub. We can work with across other SCMs and DevOps providers, CI pipelines. And then cost. The cost thing has come up again and again with us. I've heard several customers bring it up that the cost is bothering them a bit.
I think from what you're saying as well, we can have a webinar part 2 where we're going to dive in deeper as well. So thanks for previewing that. I think we've got time for maybe 1 or maybe 2 more questions. I'll go reasonably quick. Yes, what percentage of security issues are being detected by both SonarQube and Gitar?
Yeah, that's a little hard to answer question. I'm not sure if I fully understand what you have in mind when you ask security issues. But we detect broadly, if you look at SonarQube plus Gitar, we detect starting from basic SAST issues, SAST discover issues, to taint analysis issues, to cross-file taint analysis issues, to dependency-aware SAST analysis issues, to software composition analysis issues like CVs and malicious package detection. All of that we do. I don't believe AI code reviews do software composition analysis today. So that's a difference between Gitar and SonarQube. If you have advanced security, you will be able to do software composition analysis on top of the standard reviews. The more important thing is, I think, the logical security issues which happen, Gitar catches them. And the taint analysis issues and the cross-file taint analysis issues and some of those kind of issues and software composition, leak secrets is another one which we can catch. So I think together the breadth of coverage, the depth of coverage, and the accuracy of coverage is what increases if you have both. It's hard to say what percentage of issues, but I'll give you another thing which we are doing in SonarQube side. There are issues which only AI written code produces, AI produces. Things like prompt injection attacks, LLM prompt injection attacks. So those are cannot be easily, if AI is introducing them, it's hard for them to catch it. So we can catch them with the deterministic rules and deterministic analysis. So together, I think the approach is very super powerful and super cool in terms of catching different types of issues.
Yeah, and if we didn't answer the question fully, do let us know in the survey. We can follow up with you directly on that one. I did want to ask a question about reporting. Does Gitar generate reports, or does it require a plugin to do so?
Trying to unpack the question. So if you mean reports or understanding the insights of what's happening with all your PRs, it is built in to the Gitar dashboard. I did show, as you mentioned, we need a part 2. There is a dashboard. I wonder if I can show it really quickly. There is a dashboard. Okay. I might just show it quickly. So there is a dashboard view. Just share screen. Okay. Where you can see, for example, you can see. I'm trying to make the screen bigger because I know folks complain about it being small. Hope that's a little better. So
yes,
you can see PRs processed and code review findings and CI failures. You can also see the kind of PRs your team's opening and where they're focusing their work on, because we're able to analyze the nature of these PRs as they come in. And you can also run reports basically on the kind of CI failures that you folks are seeing across all your PRs, across all your repositories, and understand, okay, if it's an infrastructure failure, what's kind of happening, and where did the issue come from. So there's a whole bunch of reports we run and a bunch of other insights regarding what are different issues across different repositories, how are they being addressed, what's being kind of left on the table, and how are developers liking the experience. And you can kind of track them over time and understand what's being addressed, what's kind of left, and potentially also who's actually working on resolving them, who's maybe not, and then how's your tech debt stacking over time. So it's a whole wealth of information. It's very hard to cover everything in like one session, but hopefully we'll get to cover insights in a future session much more deeply.
Yeah, that was worth showing. I think that's really powerful, and I think that's a good teaser for a follow-up as well, especially as we're coming up on time. So let me just say thank you, both of you, Manish, Gautam. I appreciate your time, and thanks for fielding all the questions, from left field as well. And sorry for the attendees if your question wasn't asked live. Our community is a great place if you want to go and ask further questions. That's community.sonarsource.com. And finally, thank you for completing the survey. That really helps us improve. And stay tuned for the recording that will come out soon. Stay tuned for maybe a part 2 as well, because I think there's demand for that, and I would love to dive in deeper. And so thank you everybody for attending, and see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.